Welcome to Sunny Days Podcast. Welcome my guest, Matt Hunt. He is an absolute stud. I've gotten to know him. I've gotten to know him over the last. I was actually trying to look back when we had met, because I think it started out on social media, didn't it?
Yeah, I think on Instagram.
Okay. And I don't even remember how, or somebody, you remember?
Yeah, I stalked you. I found you.
Okay. We did a lot of that. We did a lot of that.
I was shocked that
stalking.
He didn't tell me that you guys were talking for a while. And I was like, what? I sent you that profile forever ago. It was me.
I just wasn't sure. Some people, I've ran into some people don't want to talk about this at all. And I've ran into some people who, love to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
so it's actually weird now thinking about it. Matt was one of my only contacts for a while, so he got the brunt of all the questions, especially when it came to stem cell. But we through social media, through podcasts, I've connected with like a lot of people, and I don't know, it's just kind of neat to see how that is. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Matt, and like where you're from, and not anything to do with the deep stuff, but just like what's your hobbies and what you got going on in life.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks to both of you guys for having me. I follow this podcast. I think it's brilliant. It's a great way to reach, a wider audience. And I'm glad that you guys found my page too, because like you said, there are so many people out there that don't want to talk about this. They want to pretend like it never happened. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different way of healing. But for me, I saw it as an opportunity to reach out to the greater community. And I thought it was really cool that with the power of social media, you could talk to somebody in Tennessee or New York or Texas and all of a sudden start following each other's journeys. So really the whole point was to have people find my page and hopefully, help guide them through their own journeys. But a little bit about me, I live in California, in the beautiful Bay Area, just about 20 minutes south of San Francisco. I've been here almost my whole life, and it's beautiful, man. I love it. I went to Cal Poly, which is middle of California. I was a former Division I athlete in college, pole vaulter.
No way.
And
That's cool.
Yeah, kind of funky. Definitely a little random, a little rare. You don't find many pole vaulters. You got to have a few screws loose, I think, to do that.
What's your highest pole vault?
I jumped 16 feet in college.
Let's go. All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I had a great time doing it. I mean, I met cool people. I was in the best shape of my life and learned a lot about discipline. And I think that transferred over to, everything that I went through the past 2.5 years as well. So, but I live with my now fiance, Taylor, and we have a little puppy, Betty, and she's about 13 months old. She's a little pit bull with some husky in her, and she is just adorable, but crazy.
A lot of energy, probably.
Yeah, she jumps real high, just like her dad.
I saw that video on Instagram. I was laughing. I was like, it really cracked me up because it looked like your dog was floating. I mean, the dog jumped probably 6 feet in the air.
Okay, I'll have to go. I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's very crazy. Well, cool. That's awesome. I went to California one time. I went to Temecula. So I went to San Diego, I think, and then drove to Temecula. And I didn't think it was going to be that hot. It was like, probably it was in July, August, and it was hot. Like I thought it was supposed to be like perfect weather in California. So I did not prepare for any of that.
I didn't go with you, but didn't you say you asked for sweet tea or something?
Yeah, they don't do sweet tea in California. Do you drink sweet tea?
No, I don't. I'm a bubbly water kind of guy.
But, yeah.
When I went out to Tennessee, Taylor and I went out there in 2024. I went to Nashville, and then we drove to Johnson City for a wedding. Lots of sweet tea, lots of chicken joints. It was good stuff.
Lots of chicken joints. It's so funny because our town's pretty small. We live in. It's not like it's really big, but compared to where you're at, it's tiny. And so we were getting a new fast food or restaurant. We're like, okay, let's go. We're about to get something new. Because we finally got a Chipotle, and that changed my life. And then, heck, when they finally put the sign out there, what it was another chicken joint. I'm like,
we were like,
oh,
more
man.
chicken.
It sucked, but whatever. But yeah, you have an incredible story, and I'm just super. I know some of it, and I tell everybody this that we have on. I try not to dig too deep into it, like beforehand, because you'll be getting my honest reaction over 90% of it. I don't want to fake it, so I'll be excited to hear that. But before, did you bring your would you rather questions?
I did, and I wore my transplant shirt. Says contains recycled
Yeah, I saw that.
parts.
See, I almost wore
my
mine
transplant
today.
birthday. Yeah.
Hey, when is your transplant birthday?
It's on Saturday. 2-year anniversary on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I was telling somebody
So
about
awesome.
you the other day. I almost sent him your number, but it was too late for me to text and ask. He has a very rare situation going on, and I was like, I know the guy you need to talk to. Well, cool. Here, would you rather, my man, hit me.
All right. I know you had said that a couple of your guests sort of stayed with the AML theme, so I did a split here.
Okay,
First
cool.
question is a little bit more on the AML side. I know you had a particularly hard time with the mucositis, so did I. So my question is, would you rather have mucositis for another whole month or be nauseous for a whole year?
That's terrible. That's a terrible question.
That's a good one, though.
Man, I feel like I have been nauseous for the last month. Let's see.
No, nauseous for a whole year.
No, a year, so I'd only have to do a month. You know what? That mucositis is terrible. I'm going nausea. I think I got a little PTSD from that. I mean, like it was that bad. Mine was really bad. Like I tell people, and they're like, "Oh, it's like a sore throat." I'm like, man, if you knew, you wouldn't even disrespect me right now saying a sore throat. But no, that's me. What would you choose?
I think I would choose the mucositis as well, and hope that painkillers help, because that nausea, man, is just
it's horrible,
a hard
isn't it?
one.
But like I didn't eat with the mucositis, so like I would probably just wither away. Like I think I lost 20 pounds, close to 20 pounds, and
Yeah.
like it felt like 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all right. Well, I'm going with nausea. A year though, God, man.
Okay,
all right, what's your next one?
Yeah.
All right. So would you rather all of a sudden become allergic to your favorite food or be forced to eat your least favorite food once per day?
Oh.
It's
a very good one. See, there's a bunch of good questions out there.
Yeah, I would want to have my least favorite food once a day.
I think I'm leaning that way. I think because like if I couldn't eat a donut ever again,
I can't give up French fries.
I'd have to give up on life. Yeah, I think no, I'm gonna have to do the least favorite food once a day because I can get the power through. What about you?
I don't know, because I really, really hate sushi. That would be the one that I'd have to eat probably every day.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man, that would.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
But that's like a real
and that's like a texture thing too.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, and that's what the kind of nausea I'm having right now. It's like the ick. You know what I mean? I'm not about to throw up, but it's like it's hard to. I wish I wish I could explain it better to people. It's like you just have that yucky stomach all the time, and I got a little relief. They changed my meds up, so hopefully that works. But awesome.
I think the ick is the right way to say it.
It is.
Just look at food and you're like, ugh, I can't.
And then you have to eat it or you'll lose more weight. And then, and it's like, what I do is I stick it in my mouth for a second and then I'm like I'll chew twice. And I'm like, okay, just swallow it.
Just swallow it.
Like I use water with it, My taste buds have been really jacked up lately. I don't know. This whole process sucks, but I don't want to miss out on anything of your story. So I would like, I think this is where we have started on that. I just want you to just give us your story, how you would say it, from in
diagnosis, things of that
nature.
And
then we'll jump into stem cell in a minute. But I'd like to know like how you found out you were diagnosed and all that. And
just your
and share your mutation, please. That's kind of our goal. We want people to share their mutations and so people can hear.
Yeah, definitely. Well, back in January of 2023. I had just been laid off from my job. I was kind of fresh out of college. I'd been at that job for about 2 years. I was working in sales in San Francisco. Really enjoyed that job, but still kind of figuring out, who I was and what I really wanted to do long term. And then boom, layoffs come, which is pretty common in the Bay Area, especially in tech. So I took that month to sort of just relax, unwind, try and figure out what I wanted to do next. My girlfriend at the time, her company had shut down as well, so we both weren't working during that month. So we were kind of just enjoying everything. But then we got sick, both of us, with something that we just didn't know what it was. It was kind of upper respiratory. There was a cough. There was a sore throat, kind of swollen lymph nodes, almost identical. And then she started to get a little bit better after 1 week. And then by 2 weeks, she was almost all the way healed. And I was getting worse by 2 weeks. And then we're into the third week. And then we're into the fourth week. And I'm like,
Oh, dang.
no, this isn't right. I'm 25 years old. I'm generally healthy, former athlete. Something's wrong here. So I reached out to my doctor, my primary care physician at Kaiser. And, God bless her. She said, well, there's all these things you can try. I can put you on antibiotics. That's no problem. But I like to have all the data just in case. So I want you to come in and I want you to do a blood test to rule out mononucleosis because sometimes mono can linger and have those same symptoms. And I went in on the 27th, February 27th, 2023 for a blood test. And at 3 a.m, the next morning on the 28th, they called me. And I was living by myself. I had a place over here. They called me once. I woke up. It's 3 a.m, wow. Unknown number. So I let it go through. And then they called again. And I usually keep my ringer on just so that if there's an emergency with my family or something.
Right.
So I pick up the phone and it's a doctor that says, this blood test is all whack. Your white blood cells are incredibly high. You need to get to an emergency room now. Don't drive yourself. Call somebody if you can. So, and that's it. That's all they tell me. So I called Taylor. I called my parents and they came and picked me up and they brought me to Kaiser emergency room at like 4 a.m. They started asking me questions. Do you have a history of cancer? And I'm like, whoa, cancer. I mean, I'm a little sick right now, but I feel okay. And they get me back there. They give me a room, and within an hour, an ER doc who was young comes in, and you have to understand these ER doctors. They don't get a lot of blood cancer patients walking in. They don't have to diagnose, these hard cases, especially to 25-year-olds. So, with tears in her eyes, she basically said, I'm so sorry, but this is what we think you have. You have cancer, and we think it's leukemia, but we're going to do some further testing to figure out if it's myeloid or if it's lymphoblastic leukemia. So then came the bone marrow biopsy and all of that. But it was really unbelievable. It started sort of as a upper respiratory infection, not feeling too well. No major symptoms. Crazy. I mean, I think about the people who have busy lives that would have just skipped on and said, you know what, it's fine. I can deal with being sick, and then it's too late. So, kudos to my doctor as well for just having a hunch and saying, let's get all the data. So by 5 a.m, they had a hematologist come in and they knew it was AML. So pretty crazy.
Probably immediately. They probably immediately knew,
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. That's obviously not exact, but it's so similar.
A lot of similarities in that. Like a lot. Wild. I'm super curious to see, like, okay, so you found out you had AML, and then what were your mutations and everything? Like, how did you, find out? Like, what was your induction like?
Yeah, so they did the bone marrow biopsy, and I think even within that morning, later that day, probably they knew that it was AML, not ALL, but they didn't know the mutation, so they sent everything off for genetic testing, which takes, I think, a week or two. And I remember that conversation where the doctors came in when I was already had started the induction therapy, and they said, you have FLT3 mutation. FLT3 mutation is fairly common. They told me it was about 33% of all cases, especially in younger folks who present with very, very high white blood cell counts. I think my white blood cells were like 50,000 or something. So they had a hunch going in. And they told me that this kind of puts me in this sort of intermediate to high risk prognosis, a little bit harder to deal with, but the good news was that it was very, very heavily studied. So there were a lot of different therapies that we could try, which in my mind, I would have rather had that be in a higher risk category, but something that people knew about than a wild mutation that had nothing for it. So
that's true.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. So they know how the FLT, I have a few friends that have the FLT3, and, it's not skies falling, like it's hard to get rid of, they say, I think is my understanding, or it's a little bit trickier, but they're doing okay right now.
Yeah, and it likes to come back. So they worry about, FLT3 in the first year, really. They say 90% of AML cases in general, but probably a little bit more than that with FLT3 relapsed within that first year. So it was really critical to get past the 100 days from transplant, but also that first year and then into that second year. And then everyone starts to kind of relax a little bit, because that's just like the critical time, and there's just so much drama around the test results and whether this thing is going to come back.
Yeah, that's I think that's the scariest part when you look at it, because you're we've learned quickly that you just can't really, you don't really know what it's going to be, and you don't really know what's going to happen. So it is just kind of, I'll be ready to hit that year mark, personally. So yeah. But 2 years. I could. She said it. She's like, I think it's 2 years. I was like, I thought it was a year. So that's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Time flies. It really does. And sometimes I look back in my camera roll and I see pictures of myself with no hair, and it feels like
who's that
5
guy?
years, 7 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Once you get your hair back and your weight comes back and you work again, your life starts to return to whatever this new normal is. It feels like a long time ago, not 2 years.
That's. Man, I feel like I've been doing this, and it makes me like, I don't say it makes me sad, but like I've just been doing this a long time, like a year. It's been like a year Friday of last week, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's a downer.
It's just like, this is just not me. I'm not, I'm healthy. Like kind of like you were saying, like I exercise. When you get time, go listen to the podcast we dropped today, because we put some pictures in there before cancer, after my induction round, after my
it was like
chemo
pre-transplant.
Yeah, and then and then I have a recent picture, and it's just amazing what it'll do to your body,
And the treatment's really hard. What was your treatment like?
So I did
your chemo regimen.
Yeah, the standard protocol between Kaiser and Stanford and UCSF, which is the other big hub over here, but mainly a lot of centers in California for AML follow the same standard. It's the 7+3 chemotherapy. Obviously, it's 24/7 IV drip, pretty brutal. And then a lot of that is once the 7 days is over, it's just sort of a waiting game, and then your hair falls out, all of that, and you start to gradually feel worse. So I did that, and I did about 35 days in the hospital total for that. I was budgeting for 30, but I went a little over because it took a while for my white blood cell counts and my platelets to come back. And then I did 2 rounds of consolidation chemo. So I want to say a month after the 7+3, I started my second round of consolidation. It was a breeze. It was so much easier to go in for just 3 days inpatient, and the chemo dose was a little bit lower, and you know what to expect. So that was huge for me to be able to go through 2 rounds of that. And then when I learned of the FLT3 and the MRD status going in, they said, there's no doubt we needed to do a transplant. So that was sort of the expectation from pretty early on, was that this was going to be a much longer recovery for me, because even if I did the consolidation, we were still heading into transplant.
And your you did pop a positive MRD, correct? Right before transplant?
I did, yeah. So I tried a couple of therapies to kind of suppress the FLT3 mutation. And it's hard to tell, if there just wasn't enough time on those therapies, or if they just didn't work properly. But yeah, I did pop up MRD positive, and it was a significant amount.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I was the same. So I was just like, I actually texted him and asked, I was like, have you ever heard of this? And he's like, actually, it happened to me. I was like, I wasn't like, thank God, but I was kind of like,
yes.
Well, I think that's really encouraging.
He's doing well.
Too. Yeah.
And I'm like, so it is encouraging to see.
Because I feel like the majority of people you've talked to were negative.
Yeah, like everybody.
And so that kind of brought him down a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
I thought, we try to find people, my age, or we try to find people that have similar mutations, which, my mutation is we get mixed reviews from so the transplant team doesn't do the cancer part. They just do transplant. Well, inversion 16 is supposed to be a favorable prognosis. That's what it says. And like 50% can get rid of it with chemo alone. And obviously that didn't happen. And we went in there. We said this on one of our podcasts. So just say it quickly. We went in there and they're like, yeah, this is an unfavorable prognosis. And I was like, whoa, what? Like this is the transplant team said that. And anyway, they went back and talked to the oncologist and cleared it up that it is favorable and it is, I was just
PTSD.
Oh God, it was like, but it took like 45 minutes for them to get that answer. So Courtney's bawling.
Yeah, I
in
had
the
a
corner.
mask on and just like tears were like, what? Because it makes such a difference to have a whole year of someone telling you
you're right.
It's favorable, and although many people get through it with unfavorable or
we would have done stem cell long if it was unfavorable. We did like you after the little. I did chemo for a long time. A lot of chemo, and then they couldn't find me a match and all that good stuff. But yeah, what was the what's on there next?
No. So we want to talk about your transplant journey. How did they choose your, was it a donor you used? We'd really like to hear about that.
And just get into the details of it because I've actually had the most people reach out to me about this specifically. About so just if you could just like how did it make you feel? What problems did you run into? And all that good stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back a little bit, you guys had mentioned, just learning about the MRD status was just sort of a kick in the pants, and this whole journey obviously is just up and down and up and down. And I remember that conversation where we were really hoping that I was MRD negative going into the transplant. And I was talking with my oncology team at one institution, which was Kaiser. And then I was transitioning to a transplant team over at Stanford. And you've got different doctors, conflicting opinions. And
you really do. True.
Yeah, and that test result came back that I was MRD positive, and we're talking like a couple weeks before transplant. And I talked with a couple of doctors that, just communicated poorly and said, this is associated with a poor prognosis. Like, I'm so sorry, and just left it at that. And Thanks. I was like, oh my God, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
I feel better.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe it, and then I talked with my transplant physician who is just so wonderful. And she said, Matt, this doesn't change anything. We're still going to transplant. We were going to transplant before, we're going to transplant now. We're doing it full speed. This doesn't change anything. So, that was a huge boost for me to be able to kind of transition over to a team that said, we've seen this before. This isn't the first time we've dealt with this. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah.
We'll do our best. And then they looked for a regular donor, right? So they looked first in the United States, couldn't find any matches, no 10 out of 10s, no 9 out of 10s, no 8 out of 10s. And then they searched globally. So Stanford has a pretty wide database, and they searched all sorts of countries. And I have a complex genetic background because I was actually born in Moscow, Russia.
That's
and I came to the United States. Yeah, so I came to the United States when I was 18 months old. I was adopted. I don't know anything about my birth parents. And who knew? They looked at me and they said, oh, you're a white guy, who's young, healthy.
Right.
Typically, we find 10 out of 10s and multiple 10 out of 10s for these types of people. But then I said, oh, well, I came from Russia. And when I did the 23andMe DNA test, it showed almost 50% Middle Eastern, particularly Syrian, which I didn't even really know.
That's
and
crazy.
As soon as I said that, my doctor was like, okay, there's going to be no matches for you. It's just really tough with that HLA background and typing. So they said, we'll keep looking. And they found one person in Germany who was an 8 out of 10. And we had them sort of commit. And then somewhere in the process of getting their blood tested, they sort of just dropped out. And we stopped hearing from them. So I was MRD positive. My only shot had dropped out. And she said, look, we're going to pivot to cord blood. And we do this all the time for people that are in these situations where we don't really have a lot of time to just keep looking and waiting. So she sort of explained what this was. And it's incredible, really, when you think about it. It is frozen blood, peripheral blood from the cord bloods from babies, and they're frozen at birth. And it happened to be that these two donors, I think, were born somewhere around 2004, 2012. So,
Cool.
they've been
I didn't know
frozen
you
for a
would.
long time.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
you could see
And
that. That's so cool.
yeah, and it turns out that umbilical cord blood is very, very rich in stem cells. So it's a low
Didn't know.
volume, which is why they choose two donors, just in case one of them fails to engraft. They infuse both at the same time. And then over time, one basically becomes dominant and the other one sort of drops out and fades away. It's very, very cool. So that's what they
It's
did for
extremely
me.
cool. I mean,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is because you don't see them do it. That's not a very common procedure, I don't think. Correct?
No,
So
very rare.
and why is that? But why don't they? Is there a better chance of relapse, or what's the deal with that?
My understanding is it's just the risk of death from it is a lot higher. It's a harder recovery. You're getting cells that have never seen any type of viruses. There's no memory cells at all. They're baby cells. So when you're infused with these cells, your immune system is completely new. And there's a chance that they don't take, which is why they do the two donors. And it's a very low volume of blood, so it's not a lot of stem cells. But when they do take, they have a very, very good graft versus leukemia effect and a low graft versus host effect. So low GVHD and high graft versus leukemia, which is to wipe out the MRD or any type of residual leukemia cells.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know you said like low volume. Is it in a bag?
Yeah, it's in a little bag. It was about
okay.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it.
This big.
It's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And nowadays they use I just missed the cutoff for this. They looked into it. There is a company that is looking to basically do expanded cord blood, where they can take the stem cells in the cords and they can expand them first in a lab to grow more of them. And that would solve that issue of having to need two donors and worrying about not enough cells. But that was still in a trial at the time. So I had missed that cutoff criteria. Yeah. So they went with the classic double cord blood transplant for me.
Yeah. No, that's so cool.
I find it interesting.
It's amazing what
they can do. Yeah. And it's interesting also that like different doctors have different opinions about perfect matches. And I've seen people with perfect matches relapse or not even get past the 100 days, that graft versus leukemia, it's interesting to hear them. Like I've had two Vanderbilt doctors say that, they kind of believe in having a little mismatch, I guess is what I'm getting at, because it helps with that graft versus leukemia. So it's just kind of, it's interesting. For me, I'm a cut and dry guy, yes or no, no gray. And there's a lot of gray, it seems.
Yeah.
So you got the cord blood.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I got the cord blood, and my transplant was July 26, 2023, my rebirth day. And it's funny, my birthday is in November 12th, my normal birthday, but I don't care as much anymore about that birthday. I actually, value my rebirth in July a lot more.
No doubt.
I'm just so grateful.
I'm thinking about abandoning my old birthday. I'm thinking about just letting it go.
I'm a July baby, so July is awesome. How was so you got your transplant. What was that recovery like for you?
It was long, and they weren't messing around when they said the recovery was a little tougher for the cord blood. I had a lot more infections after transplant, so it seemed like almost every week or every 2 weeks I was getting sick with something, which kind of tracked with what they expected. And they also expected a little bit harder of a time with the nausea and just not eating, post-transplant. So I lost a lot of weight. I went from like 160 to 120, and I was sort of teetering on that edge of needing the TPN or the basically IV nutrition. But I just, survived off of those boost protein drinks with 500 calories in them, and I'd sip on one through the whole day, and that just like kept me alive. But it was a long recovery. So lots of reactivations of viruses, lots of new viruses. I ended up having appendicitis at one point, which was very dangerous. So just a lot of bumps in the road. And then it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 months after that, I really started to turn a corner and feel like, okay, I can take the mask off. I can walk around outside. My weight's coming back just a little bit. My hair's coming back. So it was a long time before I felt good.
And probably because I was actually thinking about this the other day about like, when am I going to feel comfortable just for myself to do some of those things, like the doctor might say it's cool, but then, in my mind, it does seem like it trains you to be super paranoid about, germs and sickness and foods and things of that nature. Like when will I be okay with, getting back to normal, myself. So I know it's
And I
already
think I
difficult.
mentioned this to you. It's the protocol at Stanford. They weren't messing around. I had a HEPA respirator, so it looked like a painter's mask with those two HEPA
Yeah.
filters on them. And I had to, every time I went outside, I had to wear that for 100 days. I wasn't allowed to open the windows in my parents' house. I wasn't allowed to eat any fresh fruit or vegetables. All meat
Yeah.
had to be well done. I basically didn't go outside for 100 days. And there are other institutions that have different protocols, and I'm sure Stanford has data to back up why they do this or they're overly cautious. But, for me, I saw a lot of people break those rules and be really rebellious against all these protocols.
Right.
I said, I don't want to wear the mask. And, they were going out early and they were eating stuff that they probably shouldn't have been eating. And yes, they're fine now, but I consider them lucky. For me, I just wasn't willing to take that risk. And I
I'm the
wanted to
same
play
way.
by the rules because this was, my life.
I'm the same way. Like I'm super paranoid. Like if there's even a chance that I can't eat it, I'm out,
Yeah. They had a dietitian come in. His name's Dietitian Dan.
Dietitian Dan.
and so he gave a big packet of like do's and don'ts, what you can eat, what you shouldn't, what to stay away from. And then Colton yesterday, we got a slice of pie from just a local place. And it just didn't occur to me. Normally I'm really good about being like, wait, And yeah, he freaked out. He took a couple bites and he was like, oh no, I don't think I'm supposed to have this.
I wasn't sure because he said donuts with any sort of custard filling. Can't have it.
Oh yeah.
Something about maybe the custard could, like, I don't know. I mean, but what is...
It didn't have custard in it, but he was panicking.
I asked the doctor today about it. I'm cool, so I can finish the pie.
It was a key lime pie. So
I was freaked out, man. Yeah, I mean, because you come... something that for me is like, I'm working really hard. Like I put that in that perspective that like I'm working extremely hard to get our life back. And, I don't want to mess it up over going into a restaurant or,
right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to do that again and we're going to do it hard, but for now, I wear appreciate the mask. I did buy the mask. You told me to. I wear it soon as I leave. Now in our room, they don't make me wear a mask. But other than that, I pretty much have it on everywhere we go. Just trying to be extra cautious. My hands are like just jacked up from hand sanitizer and stuff. But but I will say this: I got sick one time during my induction and consolidation, and it was because I had a mouth sore. That they didn't go over oral health very well with me, as far as like needing to rinse and stuff at home. And then I haven't really gotten sick here. I got the standards, the stuff that you can't do anything about, the mucositis and the BK virus. So it works. Just, being overly cautious works. No fevers, no, so I'm with you.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So when you went transplant, did you stay 30 days?
Yeah, I didn't. So I did another 30 days in the hospital.
That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. And then you get released and you're like, oh yeah, thank God I can go home. And it makes a huge difference sleeping in your bed. But then for at least 2 weeks after that, every day I drove back. Well, I didn't drive. My dad drove me every day, and I wore the big mask. And there were long days in the clinics too, especially if I needed platelets and blood. Those days were sometimes 5, 6 hours. I'd be in the clinic, and my dad, my mom, Taylor, they're all troopers. They'd sit in a chair, they'd entertain me, they'd nap, I'd nap, and we would just get through it together. But then it started to be every other day, and then, twice a week. And then all of a sudden it's like once a month. It goes by really quickly, and it's like a blink of an eye.
I said this to Courtney, I think yesterday, or as the podcast that we recorded yesterday, but time does move much faster when you're sick. For me, it does. Like, you just don't feel good, and you're so focused on like that, and then trying to get better that you blink and it's 6:00 in the afternoon. And you're like, dang, and then you're getting tired. It's like, it is interesting. For her, I'm sure it's moving much slower. But being this kind of sick is just it's a whole new level. It's really hard for people to understand. That's why it's refreshing for me to hear from people like you. Our story is actually quite similar in a lot of ways. Different but similar, but it is cool to see you. You're thriving, man. You look good. You got nice hair.
That's what we were saying. We're like, it's crazy. He looks so healthy.
No. Yeah. But yeah, so transplant, you did it. You got through your 100 days. And then when do you think you started feeling good? Was that 6-month mark you were talking about?
Yeah, 6 months. And then when I hit a year, so 12 months, I told my doctor, I said, I finally feel really good. I finally feel like the GVHD isn't bothering me as much. And it was never really that bad. It was a lot of just like rash, some GI distress and stuff. So I got lucky on that count. But if I'm being honest with myself, it was really 12 months. So my hair came back and I started to kind of keep muscle back on, and I could run again. And I could walk up our stairs and not feel completely winded. I mean, there were times when I started from the bottom, and walking up to just the 5 stairs to the front door was tiring. And to think back on what I used to do in college at a Division I level, we trained for 5-6 hours a day. Like, it was embarrassing, but I tell people all the time, like, you have to just be kind to yourself, and to not be embarrassed that you do have to start from the bottom. And what I found really helped me was I visualized the end goal. I never stopped thinking about this visualization that I'd be one day sitting at a table telling friends about how crazy this was. This was just like this crazy story. And here we are, and I'm telling it. And this is me, in the other part of that. But the mind is powerful, and I think just not taking your eye off of this will get better, this will get better, this is temporary. That's really what got me through, because there was a lot of blurriness in between. And I know I had my fair share of days where I stared off into the distance and did nothing. And that was scary too, but it does get better. This is temporary.
That's fascinating, because that's a great way to look at it, because I think you actually told me that. And Courtney and I, we made like a vision board recently, but these are just different things we had been talking about, well before transplant. But I think when we first got down here, we made a vision board. And so it's just something we kind of, it's something fun for us to talk about, like things we want to do after this. And it kind of motivates us to, it gets your mind off cancer, one, or feeling bad. But then, we've actually made active steps, here to get to those, you know what I mean? So it does, like, I'm not sitting here going, oh, I'm dying. I'm scared, all these, and if that's how somebody has to get through it, I just couldn't imagine it being able to get, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. This is a hands down easy thing for me to say. This is really hard.
Yeah.
And so not having a good attitude and like you're saying, something to look forward to, and going through this, I could see how the mortality rate would be high, because it's not easy. There was eating whole foods is tough. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but it's getting better. But
I think I mentioned to you or I tell a lot of newly diagnosed patients to read the book Man's Search for Meaning, and it's written by an Auschwitz survivor, and he talks about how the people who did survive, including him, had something to live for. They had their why. You can figure out your how. You can look at the plan and say, okay, here's the steps that I need to go to get through it, whether it's chemo, radiation, whatever. We'll get through that. But what people were missing was, what am I living for on the other side? It could be your kids, it could be money, it could be your relationship, or whatever it is. It could be a job, doesn't really matter. But the people who consistently had something to live for, and they searched for that meaning and they found that meaning, did so much better in the long run.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing your why?
For me, my whole thing is my family and my fiance. I want to get married, and I want to be a dad, and I want to have kids and watch those kids grow up and graduate high school. I mean, it would be a miracle for me to live into my 60s after what I went through, and I'm hoping I do. But just the reality of it would be a miracle for that to happen. But I never lose sight of that, and I think that's a big motivator for me is the people around me. I got to stick around for my wedding and my sister's wedding and, my kids, my future kids. And my big driver right now is I'm super excited to be a dad. So that's definitely
awesome.
something that I grasped onto and never let go of.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Where you went to the doctor, how do they talk about because I asked that question, you said it'd be a miracle for you to make it that long. And so I always ask, how long can I live after this? And how did they give you indications of it is a little bit of a morbid thought, but do they give you anything like that?
It's hard because, you're dealing with basically two realities in the future. One is a relapse of this disease, and one is a secondary cancer. And then you've got your regular just risks of life. Driving a car is risky. Flying on a plane is risky. But I think once you get out of that 5-year window, the risk of a relapse from this disease is almost zero. And that's where they said, keep your eyes set on that. But I went through total body radiation and a lot of chemotherapy.
I was almost going to ask. I thought you did radiation. So when did you tell people about that? Because I have never spoken with anybody who's done radiation.
Yeah. So, and I'll be honest, that was the hardest part about all of this by far. I did Cytoxin, I did cytarabine, all these different chemos, and that was hard, but the radiation was so much worse than all of that, in my opinion. It was, you stand in a booth that's made of wood, and you just stare into this machine, and it's light beams, it's radiation hitting your whole body, and it's ablating or getting rid of all of your bone marrow. So everything, it's getting rid of residual cancer, your bone marrow, it's making room for new bone marrow to come in and grow. And it was weird because it's not something you feel or see. You can't see light. You just stand in this box and you're like, oh, wow, this is easy. And then you step out, and an hour later, it's like a lot of vomiting and just bone pain. And I couldn't make it back up the steps. And I actually did 1 day of that. I was supposed to be outpatient, and then they admitted me early. They just said, you're losing too many fluids. It got a little scary there. So that's what radiation was like for me. It was only 4 days, 8 sessions of it, but it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and they had to admit me early for it.
Yeah, no, that sounds awful.
Well, we're believing that you're not going to get a secondary cancer from the radiation, and it's going to go get an old man.
Yeah, but it's crazy you bring that up because he actually has connected with someone else, and she did end up getting a secondary cancer, but they're confident in it was, what did it happen in her lung?
She had a lung tumor.
Yeah, but they're like, we've taken care of it. But yeah, those are real realities. I think that that's one thing people don't see. They're outside of this.
Right.
All the other things that come along with it, for sure.
Yeah. And it's important to remember, we're all dying, and you and I have seen sort of a sneak peek into mortality just a little bit earlier than everyone else. I mean, that's the only difference. Nobody makes it out alive from life.
Right.
And everything is a risk, but the hope is that if you do get a secondary cancer and say it's in 10 years, science might have a solution for that. And I'm amazed at every week. It seems like the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society will come out and say, there's a new approved treatment for ALL or AML or,
CML.
All of them, really. Yeah, CML.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an exciting time for science, I think, with all of this research going on. And you hope that you make it to the next 5 years. And then after that, you make it to the 5 years after that. And you're just grateful for each year, each month, each week. And if something does come up, we'll deal with it then.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the way you have to look at it. And we've adopted that. Don't get me wrong. We have our days where we're like, down in the dumps, about everything. But yeah, I think that's just such a great, and that's kind of like with our vision board. That's kind of why we've created it the way we have, and kind of a YOLO mentality. Like I've been preparing for the future. Like we got married so young, and so I started putting into retirement, since I was 19 years old, and even more so, I got, like, when I went to FedEx, I'm putting into large amounts in there. Not like, for me it is. And I'm like, I was like, okay, when I'm 55, hopefully we have enough savings so that I can wait till I can draw. Yeah. I was looking for retirement. Right. And then, this just like, boom, hit me. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like, I mean, don't be an idiot. Don't spend
you should be smart, but also
shout out to the guy who's, liquidated his 401 and bought a boat. And you seen this yet? He's sailing around the world. Yeah. He found out he had a rare spinal issue, and any movement, like, he could just be permanently paralyzed and kill him, I think. I don't know. Don't quote me if that's not exactly right. But so he liquidated everything he had. His house, his car, his 401k. He bought a sailboat, and he's flying around. He's sailing around the world, which is cool, right? Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do that, but we do plan on taking some more risks.
It's a balance. Yeah. You want to enjoy your life too. So you want to be careful. And they say, oh, here's all these foods that are anti-cancer, and it's like, yeah, but I ate healthy before and I got cancer. So it's like, do I want to have a beer? Okay. And you have that internal battle, if you will, about how much you want to enjoy your life and how much you want to take care of your life.
Yeah.
See, because I'm glad you said the beer thing, because I've seen people get in arguments on these forums. I don't get on them anymore, but they can't. I was like looking, because I hadn't met anybody, maybe two people. So I'd get on these cancer forums, and they would argue. Like, a lady's like 2 years post transplant, she'd have some champagne in her hand, celebrating it. And people like, that's crazy. You're drinking alcohol, or whatever. And or even food. I've seen them get crazy about certain foods, sugary foods. I'm like, you know what? Once you get past this, you should try to go back to your normal life as best you can. Obviously, I just can't. I don't believe there's anything that you and I did to cause this or didn't do. I just think we got the bad role here. We're Katniss Everdeen. Pull it. And so they pulled us into the Hunger Games, and we survived. I mean, I'm going to. You're killing it, and I think if you just lock yourself up, afraid, what life is that? Because if who's to say you don't get it again and you don't beat it, and then you did all those things or didn't do all those things that you wanted to do, and you're sitting there and you're like, man, I missed out on life, and I just think that there's balance there. Yeah, go out and have a beer with the boys, obviously be more mindful. I guess I just don't understand. Like, if you're into eating McDonald's all the time, McDonald's didn't cause leukemia, that just probably make you kind of fat, but you see what I mean? Like, people are thinking, I've had so many people ask me, well, what caused this? I'm like, nothing. I know what caused it. I just didn't explain it, but it was nothing that I did or didn't do. So it's just, eradicate it and then do your best. That's how I look at it. Eradicate and do your very best to go back to your life. Now, I think you're one of the people who's always said your life will never be the same. And, and something I've said is that this will always be a part of my life. Cancer, it's a piece of my life. I can't get rid of that, but I won't let it define my life, and be the driving factor there. And so you've always talked about that. And so I think that you do have to be mindful of, like, staying healthy, but other than that, I'm doing my best to get back to the things I like to do, and be cured, hopefully.
What's life been like since transplant, and since your 6 month mark? You said you kind of sort of feeling a little bit more like yourself.
Yeah. So, the problems that you deal with, they shift into new problems. And not to say that it's always endless, but there's always going to be something else. So, there's always the anxiety in the back of my mind about, will this come back, and secondary cancers and all that. But separate from that, for me, I had really an identity crisis. I thought, okay, if I'm all good right now, what's next for me? Do I go back to what I was doing before? Do I open up about this story and try and go big with it? Do I try and help other people? Do I volunteer? Yes. How do I feel useful again? And I struggled with that question. And I read this book by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I love, and it's called Be Useful. And he just talks about finding what you're good at and just going forward with that. It's really simple. Yeah. And if that's just a new thing for you now, like if you find that hole in your heart is being filled with sharing your story on a public platform, then share the hell out of it, go forward with that. And if you want to be quiet about it, that's fine too. There's no right or wrong way to healing. But I struggled with what was I going to do with my career? And I had a lot of people in my life. Some didn't support, the choices that I wanted to make, and some did, and some wanted me to go back to what I was doing before. And I kept on telling them, like, the chances of me even being here, coming from Russia, and then getting AML, and then getting a cord blood transplant and beating it, like, what's the point of like going back to what I was doing before if I didn't really love it? And so, life after transplant really turned into this like advocacy thing where I just had this drive to meet and talk to other patients and give back. And I got as much out of that as I did give to other people. And so I started going to leukemia and lymphoma events, like the Light the Night event, which is every year. And it's such a powerful event. It's a bunch of survivors and supporters and caregivers, and they just get together and they just celebrate each other. And I spoke at one of those events. And then I started talking with my doctor about how could I get my story out there to patients directly. And so I started going and visiting patients at Stanford. And
that's cool.
I really had this drive to go and meet other people who are going through this and give my tips and tricks and advice, because I didn't really get that myself when I was going through it. So, and then there's the whole professional thing, like, do I want to go into a new industry? And I did. I wanted to be a part of the pharmaceutical industry because I knew how important it was to have targeted therapy drugs. And, my targeted therapy was created in the last like 7 years. It's pretty new. So it was really about figuring out what's next for me and how do I get there.
Man, that's obviously not, it's not the exact same thing, but that is like what we're going through now. Like it's a little early, but we've talked about making some drastic changes. It's like why, like you said, why go somewhere that you're not just thriving and being everything you can be, and with the chance of
that makes you feel like fulfilled. Yeah. So I think that's, first of all, very inspiring. And I think you, like, just us being here, obviously it's the first time I talked to you, but I know that you've shared a lot of encouragement with Colton. And then, being on the podcast with us, you're definitely a light, and we can see that.
Definitely.
Like it definitely comes through.
Yes. You're well spoken. You can, how to present a story. I mean, so I could see how that would be a really good avenue for you to go and pursue. I mean, and your story is it sounds like from birth till now, is just crazy. And you should embrace that, because it does help people. You're helping people by, you're helping me. I know that. Mm-hmm. And we went the social media podcast route, but I do have I've told Courtney, I said, if God will let me get through this, I would like to share and help other people, just because it's a scary thing. And it's nice to be able to have somebody to, chat with that's, been through it.
It's been amazing just connecting with other survivors too, and people who are still fighting it.
Yes.
And it's crazy. The stories are so different, but there's always some sort of similarity and things like that. I did have a question. I know you talked a little bit about graft versus host disease, or is that something you still deal with? You said it was like GI and skin. Is that right?
Yeah, so, graft versus host disease, my understanding is it can affect really any organ sort of randomly. And,
Mm-hmm.
the skin is an organ and it's the biggest organ in the body. It's all over. So, it's always probably at a very minimal level going to happen to everyone. And
Mm-hmm.
it did for me, even though I had a very low risk of it with the cord blood. I definitely got it all over my skin. And I still have, GI distress. And they found a little bit of GVHD evidence in my stomach. They did an endoscopy and got a sample.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about the extent of it. I mean, my life became, how do we manage the symptoms if it's not really affecting my life unless I was like not sleeping or something, which
Right.
it was a balance. I mean, it was like, okay, if we try this cream over here and it works for 6 months, then great. And then we go to another cream. And that's sort of been my life with GVHD up until now. And I'd say
Mm-hmm.
actually up until a month ago, I sort of finally cracked the code with a steroid cream that has really seemed to like calm everything down. And it was only a couple spots on my arms here and there. But also, as time goes on, you hit that 2 year mark, 3 year mark, the GVHD kind of just like falls off. And it doesn't for
Okay.
everyone. Sometimes it can linger and
Mm-hmm.
be chronic and it can be forever. But
Right.
for me, it was sort of managing the symptoms as they came up and
Mm-hmm.
being real with yourself. Does this really affect your life in any drastic way? And if it doesn't, then we don't want to put you on a medication you don't need to be on. Just try and knock
Right.
it out with whatever we have topically. So I'd say up until a month
Yeah, I
ago,
agree.
I had just a little bit, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we talk to the nurse practitioners and doctor. I'm like, I'm taking 16 pills every.
He had like a little bit of a rash come up here and then kind of around his face. So it got brought up today.
Yes, like I'm like, I don't want to take all these pills for the rest of my life. When you think I'm ready to taper off something, let's taper.
Yeah.
let's get there.
Yeah. Do you still have medications you take?
Yeah. So I am going through the revaccination process. So after transplant, typically you have to get revaccinated for everything from childhood. And each time you get a vaccine, it kind of flares the GVHD a little bit. And for me, it was like my skin would get extra itchy for a couple of days because the vaccine would just sort of overexcite the immune system. But I'm sort of on the back half of that. So I'm almost done with all those revaccinations. And shingles is one of them that I just started that series. And I'm taking a medication called acyclovir. I'm sure you're on it. It's an antiviral to prevent the shingles. So once I get my second dose of that, then I'll be off that medication. And then I'm only on a medication called Zospata, which is my targeted therapy to suppress the FLT3. So those are the only two I'm on. Pretty soon I'll be off the acyclovir. And then the hope is in the next 6 months, maybe a year, she'll take me off of the Zospata because we'll feel good enough that, I'm kind of out of the clear.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so encouraging. I mean, because you do, mutation wise and all that, none of it's wasn't great. And you're just, keeping a positive attitude about it. I love it. I think it's just, I've talked to some people that I've connected with. It's doom and gloom. And I'm like, man, you got to shake that because you're going to, we met a guy, an older gentleman at the Vanderbilt. And it's our first visit. And he was, you could tell, he just looked very angry.
It was Colton's first day to get, you were starting chemo. Yeah, you were starting your chemo. So we're nervous and not sure what to expect.
Yeah.
So the first people we see when we walk in.
And he was like, the lady's like, are you here for, his wife was like, you here for stem cells? I'm like, yep, here for stem cell transplant. She's like, oh, that's wonderful. I said, how many perfect matches did you have? I said, I didn't have any. She's like, I said, just a half match, my son. She's like, oh.
She goes, oh no, I'm so sorry.
That's what she said. And then she said, and then that guy said, man, this is a tough, long road, boy. Well, he didn't say boy. I think he said son. He called me something. It's a long road, son. I was like, yeah, I've heard. He said, they want me to do more chemo after this. I ain't doing it. I was just like
a maintenance chemo.
Yeah. I was like, you've come this far. Like, I think you should finish it out, buddy. I couldn't imagine doing this and then just being like, I'm going to do my own thing, not listen to the doctors or whatever. So but it was funny. It was like, wow, this place is really bringing me up. making me feel real good.
She said, "I'm so sorry."
Yes, she did. Well, don't you have some rapid fire questions?
Yeah, you want to do them?
Hey, put the mic a little closer to your face.
Okay.
It's like
better?
back feeding. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got a little OCD, but I
That's
can do
okay.
it.
Okay, rapid fire questions. Let's see. What's your go-to comfort food?
I'd say burritos. I ate too many of them.
Oh,
In California,
that.
we got the best
Burritos.
Mexican food. Yeah.
that's what I was about to say. Yeah,
Like big burritos, or is it like like small burritos? Is there
they
only one
massive?
size burrito? We don't have that here. I guess the Chipotle burrito is like this big, and then
Then we don't really have any other.
Like, do you pick it up and eat it, or is it like you slice it?
No, always pick it up and eat it in the foil. It's
Yeah.
my way.
Okay.
But
my bad.
we have
Hey,
like
look, he's still in America.
How do you do it in Russia? Are you going to go back to Russia? Are you going to?
I'd love to. I'd love to one day. It's just not safe. I think for probably
it's
quite a long time.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. Okay. A show you binge watch.
Like
So we just
what one?
So we just watched The Ultimatum Queer Love, which on Netflix, which was really good.
Okay.
Lots of drama there.
Okay.
So, highly
What's your all-time
recommend.
favorite one? What's your all-time favorite show?
Oh, I mean, my all-time favorite show I think would be like The Sopranos or Mad Men. I was always like a
I love
drama
Mad Men.
series guy.
Did you ever watch it? Yeah, I love Mad Men. That was a good one. Yeah.
Like
yeah, that was a good one. Okay, let's see. Ooh, this one's good. Weirdest hospital meal you had? Can you remember?
Or one that really didn't sit well with you? I have one.
It's interesting. I ate like dry turkey sandwiches with nothing on them forever, and I couldn't eat another turkey sandwich after that. I had so many of them, and they were like, "You're not allowed to put any condiments on it," and all this stuff. And then out of nowhere, one of my favorites was chicken tikka masala, and I'm like, "What?"
I love this.
So they brought in some Indian food. It was prepackaged, so it wasn't that good, but I loved it, and I just kind of like glommed onto that, and I ate a lot of that. And then there was like just weird stuff like there was a menu that you could order from at Stanford. So you could call anytime you wanted, and you could make this there was like a wok station, so you could get like noodles with like garlic and like Szechuan sauce and stuff like that. So it was kind of a weird mashup of food, but it was all okay.
Sounds a little bit better than what you got going on.
Way better, yeah.
Yeah, there. Okay, so obviously, I don't know if you picked up on it. Colton loves donuts. Yes. What's your favorite donut, or do you have one?
Oh yeah, maple. Anything maple, like maple bar, maple old fashioned. Yeah,
she loves maple.
Yeah, I love maple donuts. Favorite pump up song?
Like what? Yeah, what song gets you going? Or an artist?
Taylor and I really like Rufus Du Sol. I don't know if you know that artist, but very, very good. Kind of like electric techno. And the song that we like is called "I Don't Want to Leave." And there's a lot of meaning behind it too, but that's definitely one of those songs where it comes on. I'm like fired up.
Courtney's looking at it, so we're going to listen to it. We'll listen to it.
I feel like you've told us a lot of interesting facts because I don't know if you knew that. I didn't know you were from Russia. So, but one of the rapid fire questions is something surprising people don't know about you. Is there anything else?
Well, sometimes people ask, like, do I have an interesting skill or something like that? And I used to know how to solve Rubik's Cube pretty well. And I got to get back to, I've lost some of the skill there, but I used to know how to ride a unicycle. That was what I did when I was really young. I had just really like good balance. And I did it for a talent show in, I think, 5th grade or something like that. So imagine all these kids going up there and singing like awful karaoke. And then I come in and
that's awesome.
12 or something like that. Yeah.
Did you win? Because I feel like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. He said, oh yeah. Still got the trophy. Sweet, man.
Yeah. So I feel like you shared like some just really good information. You're obviously very knowledgeable about leukemia in general. But is there any sort of message that you'd like to leave just with people who may listen to this or, find the podcast?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many different things that I like to tell people, but one of them is just to be kind to yourself, slow down, and you can't help other people if you haven't helped yourself first. So if you don't love yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to go out there and love other people and feel really confident in that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you have to take months to just gather your thoughts and love yourself again and figure that whole thing out, like this is your time, this is your journey. So love yourself first and all the rest will fall into place. But be kind to yourself and be patient too. Like things will
That's
get
good.
better, but it takes time.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
perfect, man. I love that.
I think that's one thing we've learned. You have to have patience.
Oof.
Take things definitely one day at a time. And then somebody was like, look, you may not even be able to take it one day at a time, just an hour at a time. So it's definitely something we've learned. Well, you've been a great guest.
Yeah.
Colton likes to do Harry Potter trivia.
Do you watch Harry Potter? No?
Do you know
I
anything
did.
about
Yeah, I
him?
watched all the movies. Yeah.
Okay.
You can try me a little bit.
Yes. Okay. We'll see.
I've only read one book,
Okay.
so.
So this is a big deal to me. So if you don't like it, just act like you do, okay? This is my son singing the Harry Potter intro for me. Oh, that's me. Hold on. I want you to hear my son. It took like 30 takes to get that. But yeah. Okay. So let's see. I'm trying to find, I think the smaller ones are the easier ones. So let's take it easy on him. I'll ask yours and his.
Okay.
Trying to find. So I got some new ones and I made a mistake.
And don't feel bad. I lose every time.
Yeah.
It's kind of an unfair game.
Well, if you'd read the books. All right. Let's start with our guest, my boy Matt. Well, you have a chance to get this right. The chances of you getting it right are probably slim. How many players are there on a Quidditch team?
Oh.
Now look, I'm going to give you a hint. It's less than 10.
7?
Let's go!
Good job.
Nice, man. Let's go. That was good.
Okay, I've got yours, Colton.
All
What is Hermione's middle name?
She's middle name. Wow. That's so terrible. She doesn't have one. That's my answer.
It's Jean.
Dang it. That sucks. Okay, I hope yours is hard. I got you.
It probably, even if it's not, I probably won't get it.
Man, it is easy.
Oh, no.
Some bull crap. What does Dumbledore leave Harry Potter in his will?
Oh, the snitch. Ha 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 ha. It's the first one I've gotten right. You witnessed it.
We'll do one more because I want to get one right. Are you putting them back in there?
No, I have it right here.
Is that how you're winning?
No.
Okay, I've got. Here's another. Looks like an easy one. So I guess I cut the easy ones up smaller. All right, Matt.
Second chance.
Ooh, you could probably get this. You're gonna have to think. What is the name of the wand shop in Diagon Alley? It's the famous wand shop that everybody goes to.
Oh.
You're gonna hate it if you don't get it. It's where Harry got his wand.
I know the scene.
I remember the scene.
That's what I do. I can play it out.
I don't know.
It's Ollivanders. Ollivanders.
Oh, you had to buzz in?
Yeah.
That was rude. Okay, last question. We asked Kinsey too, because we just think it's funny. How Southern do we sound? Do we sound super Southern?
Oh, yeah.
Do we really?
We're a bunch of hicks.
Yeah. She said she's from Michigan, so she said, "Yeah, y'all are definitely got something going on."
And it's so funny because a lot of Colton's family. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm from California, so
Yeah.
anything outside of California is like crazy different. So it's
we don't hear it.
Very cute together. So
thank you. We don't hear it though. Like to be honest with you, well, I speak for myself. But Courtney, she says some wild words.
Yeah,
I'm pretty well spoken for this area, but still, I get like when I go visit people out of way out of state, they're like, "Man, you sound like a hillbilly." Bro.
Yeah, he's got a lot of Oklahoma family, and everything here. Like for me, growing up, everything was Coke. Do you want a Coke? But it could be, do you want a Sprite? Like we just said that.
Yeah.
And so going to Oklahoma, they all said pop, and
right.
it freaked me out. He may say pop. Do you say pop?
What do you say? Like for a soft
soda.
drink?
No, we say soda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soda.
Yeah.
I just say, I say specifically, what do you want? Like, do you want a Sprite or a Coke or a
Right.
You know.
But it cracked me up because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, like fields around me, cows. I'm running in the field with the cows.
Yeah.
And so his family was like, no, you sound way more Southern than Courtney.
And it freaks us out. Yeah. I don't know what it is. All right, Courtney.
I get another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is McGonagall, a professor of Hogwarts, let me read it again. What class? That's why. What class does Minerva? How do you say her name? Professor McGonagall. What class does she teach?
Oh,
Minerva. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember. Is it the transformation?
Well, I'm going to give it to you. You said it kind of wrong. It's transfiguration.
There you go.
How do you pronounce this? Minerva.
I don't know.
Minerva?
We'll have to Google it.
Well, y'all did a good job. Good job, guys. Way to make me look stupid. Appreciate it.
No, you did great.
He guessed 7. How do you guess 7?
Hey, you're like what, 33 days post-transplant?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Man, it has been a pleasure. I really, obviously this isn't going to be the last time we speak. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll come up to California and so Courtney looked up California and she said, so you have a lot of homeless people, I guess?
Yeah, we do in San Francisco, in the major cities, LA.
Yeah. Well, I was just surprised because I don't know, a lot of social media, you feel like people may dramatize things sometimes, or is it true? But I actually got on, I think it was Google Maps. And so I could zoom in and I was going down the streets and it was like just all along the streets. And I was kind of surprised about it for sure. I was like, they weren't lying.
Yeah.
Well, everything is so dang expensive. So if you want to own a home, you better come up with $2 million. So I understand.
Right. That's insane. Yeah. That's insane.
Look, Matt, get married, bring your wife to Mississippi, and we'll find you a mansion for $400,000. It's going to be great.
Yep.
It's tempting. Crazy, we go on Zillow sometimes. We look at Texas and stuff, and we're like,
Texas is a great, awesome.
We have a yard.
And Tennessee, honestly, like right outside of the Nashville area, it's really nice. And
Franklin's nice.
Yeah. Well, you've been a great guest.
Yes.
Thank you for hanging with us and sharing your knowledge. And like I said, I know you've been encouraging to Colton, and he shared a lot of things that you've shared with him, and just overall very inspiring. And we're not just saying that, we do mean it.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here with us. And we're going to have to, maybe once I hit my 2-year mark, we'll trade seats. You can take me on one of your speaking journeys. You'll be speaking to thousands. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you.
Either way, whether we come your way or you guys get to California, we'd love to see you. And thanks for having me. But man, like, you're such an inspiration. I think even for me, it makes me think back about just everything, man. And like, it brings it all back for me. And you're just doing a hell of a job.
Man,
you've
I appreciate
done
that.
Everything right. And it's just really inspiring. So I think, a lot of people are going to be touched by this. So,
well, man, I appreciate that. It means a lot. I don't feel like I'm doing a good job, I feel like I'm just surviving, but I appreciate that. That means a lot. And we're definitely going to hook up and have that beer, whether it be in California or Mississippi, but I think you'd rather us come to California.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing in Mississippi, man. We're good. Well, I'm going to play this outro and just don't hang up. We'll see you.
Okay.